I go, what do I do? I have nothing. I don't know. I have no education. All my friends are in jail, so the street stuff stopped. Couldn't go to FBI. Was all over the neighborhood. So I said, what am I going to do?
Hey, Anthony, where'd you get this podcasting stuff from?
It fell off the back of a truck.
Yeah, welcome back to the Breaking Bread podcast. I'm Sal Valentinetti, joined as always by Anthony Sciarratta.
How you doing?
And today we have a friend of ours, Mr. Louis Lombardi.
Hey.
Actor, writer, and pizza man extraordinaire.
Jack of all trades.
Really?
Really.
Yeah.
Entrepreneur through and through.
Yeah.
I worked pretty hard in my life.
And you're like a neighborhood legend too.
Oh,
I mean,
okay.
like, no, really, everyone here in the New York area, you say your name, like their eyes light up.
Thank you, man. That's nice. Thank you. Appreciate
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
It's the truth.
Guys put his time in.
Yeah.
For real.
I don't look this young for nothing.
Where you from, Lou?
I'm from the Bronx, Country Club, Frog's Neck. But when I lived in the Bronx, I lived all over. That's how so many people know me. And that's what I was telling these guys on the way here is that, growing up, that's basically like what my show was about, the new one I was telling you about. I lived in before I was 10, I lived in 8, 9 different places. I lived in Morris Park. I lived in Country Club. I lived in all over the place, Hazel Towers.
Well, how'd you moving around so much?
Because my father was killed when I was 3.
Oh, wow.
Very sorry to hear that.
Yeah. No, but I tell people that's not, because, my grandfather did 30 years. All my family did 25 years. All my friends did 20. So and I look at this life because when that happened, I was secluded by myself. My mother had a king. So for 5 years, my mother was whatever. And I lived with my grandmother. I lived with my aunt. I lived with my other grandmother. But in that time period, I look at everything that's terrible. That's what this book it's called. The book I'm writing now is called Breaking the Cycle. It's breaking the cycle, like in any family problems you have. Like, say your family's full of alcoholics or drug addicts, and you get away and break off and become normal.
Yeah.
You broke the cycle for your generation.
Yeah, right.
All I knew growing up was gangsters in prison. I've been visiting prison since I'm 5.
Wow.
I have pictures in Lewisburg with all of the guys, like the Carnegie, you'll see them. It's like, so when I was a kid, I would visit Lewisburg. That was my life, prison. Not that I was in it, but I would visit my whole life. My grandfather did 30, or my friends did, so I would always be in prisons. And when my father died, I found it to be, as I look back, probably the best thing that's ever happened, because if he was alive, would I have become a movie star? Would I have had this amazing life and have my great daughter?
Right.
Would I have been where I am? No, I probably would have fell in the life of that world.
How do you avoid that? Like what?
What happened was
you go from an impressionable child who's growing up with a single mom.
Yeah.
And you got a hard life and you're bouncing around from neighborhood to neighborhood.
Yeah.
And I know what that is. When you change schools in New York, or
I went to 8 schools.
Yeah.
And
that's a rough
know what
go.
The worst thing is, I quit school at 5th grade because I had no guidance. So if you hear Vinny Pastore talk about me on the Soprano podcast, he says, I know Louis since he's 13 because I was a street guy and I used to go shake him down. His
Wait,
bars.
what?
Yeah, I'll show you the video when we're done. You could air it in there. And Vinny talks. He goes, when he was on Soprano, he said Louis used to come in my bar. He owned the bar, Vinny. He wasn't always an actor.
Yeah.
And Richie Palmer, who won't Take 5. I used to go with my friends and family, and we used to go all the bars and collect.
Yeah.
And I was 13. And that's how I know Vinny Pastore. And he says, yeah, Ducky, I know, he used to come in my bar. He called me Ducky. He goes, Ducky used to come into my bar. That's what my nickname was on the streets. No one even knew my real name, Louis, until I became an actor.
Yeah.
Everyone knew me as
You get
Ducky.
a street name first.
Yeah. So, but as 5, 6,
You know how many
7,
Louis are in a neighborhood? You need a street name.
Yeah.
Big Louis, little Louis, small Louis, fat
Yeah.
Louis, tiny Louis. So the point is when I was 5, 6, and I was in my grandmother's houses and stuff, I fixated on my outlet was television. All in the Family, all those 1970s. Odd Couple was my inspiration to become an actor. So as a kid, since I had nothing, I would sit at my grandmother's. I would just watch TV. Mm-hmm. And I always would dream about being on TV. So that right there, being alone, ended up giving me, okay, and as I got 10, 11, 12, so people think...
Showed you the way out.
I would just watch TV, and I was fixated. I would sit in the basement apartment of my grandmother's, and she would be non-existent. I would just be by myself, and I would watch the TV.
So you did the opposite of what a lot of people do. Like you took what you went through, you kind of manifested it, and you had a vision. And you're like, I don't want to be what I grew up with. I want to be something else.
Yeah, and I want you know why I did that though. Again, it was a blessing. All that stuff that happened to me because when I would go to the prisons, I would look, and that was my realization as I got older. To go, I don't want to live this. Everyone's
Really?
miserable. Yeah, every guy you see on TV is a friend or a family of mine. Every famous person, gangster, I knew them since I'm a baby. You know, so I could have been on the, you know, if I really stood here. But as a kid, I would watch, and I would go, you know, I would watch TV, and I have headshots since I'm 12. I'm going to show you those as well. So people think, where'd you get started? Sopranos? I did 70 movies before Sopranos.
Wow.
70?
Yeah.
70?
Look at my resume. But my first few years in L.A., I got hired by my idol. My first movie was, you know, so let me go back.
Well, how do you get to LA? You start acting at 12.
Yes.
How does this conversation go with your mother, by the way? Because I'm sure
No,
your mother's got to be working at least 2 jobs at this
No,
point.
my mother was just, I did everything on my own. My mother would just let,
your mother's working.
No, yeah, but I never had guidance.
She's working a real job.
Yeah.
A real
But
job.
Not till later on.
Is your mother was born here?
Yeah.
And
in Harlem.
Born in Harlem.
East Harlem?
Yeah. Pleasant Avenue. My
where
grandfather,
Rayos
my mother.
is?
Yeah, I know Frankie Pellegrino since I'm a baby.
And where do
the dad.
Yeah.
And where do her parents come from? Your mother?
Harlem.
No. So you're generationally Harlem.
Yeah. My grandmother, my grandfather from Harlem. My
Wow.
mother's from Harlem. But my point is, so when I was a kid in the Bronx, I would sit there, fixate on TV, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, I would watch TV. And that's when I started going, I want to be in the business, right? So when I got old enough, like 10, 11, 12 years old, I would jump on the Manhattan Express. I would buy Backstage. You guys are young. You don't know what Backstage is. It was a newspaper that you had all the auditions in, all the student films, independent films in New York, and you would mail your headshots out. So once I got old enough, like 11, 12 years old, I would go to Pelham Bay Station. They would only news magazines and that would have Backstage. I would get Backstage and I would just get headshots. You used to get 500 for $90, you know, and you would send them out every Thursday. So what I would do is I would just go through Backstage. I learned this on my own. No one ever taught me anything. I didn't go to school. I didn't know politics. I didn't know religion growing up. Everybody was, if I like you, I like you. I don't care what color you are, how educated, how whatever. I always judge people on how you are as a person. If you're cool, I don't give a fuck what you look like. You know, I never knew because I didn't go to school. I wasn't real. I always taught myself everything. So I never knew anything about, like I said, religion. I didn't really understand, like, between a Jewish person and a Italian person until I moved to L.A. To me, if everybody was just cool, if you were cool, you were with us. If not, I didn't care what you were. So that was my mindset in life. So I never was jaded by politics or religions. It was just, are you cool? You could stay with, I don't give a fuck. So as time went on, we curse
America
on
needs
this
more of that. Yeah, no. I'm
so,
laughing.
he's like, he fucked it up, Greg.
No.
God.
No, you can
America
say whatever you
needs
want.
more of that. No,
Right?
what you just said. America needs to be the way that you
Right. And not judge people by a label.
Yeah.
But if someone's cool with you, that's why when people go, I don't like him, I go, well, he treats me good. Maybe you got a different personality. That's why I was so legendary, like you said, on the streets.
Yeah.
Because I always treated people fairly and with respect. And I could have been, my family still, you know what I'm saying? Massive, And I would never use that. I was always me. So as I started watching movies, I would send this shit out to Backstage. And I didn't have money to go to NYU.
Right.
I didn't have money to go to film school or acting school. So I would send this shit out to all these NYU films. My headshots, and I would get hired.
So like the student films?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I ended up doing about 20 of them because kids met me and go, oh my God, you're cool. This is back when I was 15, 13. I'll show you headshots. And they started passing me around. Now, you know how you do NYU films. You do a film, you work on a film, and then you do a film and everyone works on your film. So when I got to sets, I was a street guy at 12. Literally a street guy. So I would take them all out. I had money. I would take them to the bars in then Soho, right outside of, like the NYU, the whole other thing. So I would do all these student films, but I learned how to act for free on a real set. And I learned how to make movies for free. I had a $100,000 a year education, but I did it for like 8 years. So did so many. So before I got to Hollywood one day, I knew how to make movies. I knew how to act. And I tell people.
So how young a guy are you when you're buying
I'm going to show you.
people drinks?
That's the first thing
I'm
that
gonna
went
show
through my
you.
head.
Except you say it like,
14,
I started
13?
my career at 12. And
Wait
you're like,
till
well, this is how I got started.
Yeah. Well, you'll see when Vinny talks about me on his podcast, you'll understand the theory.
Yeah.
I used to go to Vinny's bar at 13, hang out, collect. I was always this big. I was way more aggressive
Wait,
then.
so with 13, you were collecting from an adult Vinny Pastor?
You want to see the video?
I believe you. No, I believe you. I just think
Yeah.
it.
He'll
I
tell the
think
stories. He's
that
like, can I tell these stories to Sciarratta and Imperioli? They're like, yeah.
You used to
This
go
could be a
shake
movie.
people down as a 13-year-old. How do you hustle Hollywood?
My
How do
whole-
you negotiate for yourself?
Because it's the same thing as the streets, dude. And let me tell you something. Hollywood is worse than the streets. There's more fucking treachery and crime and shit
believe
in
that.
Hollywood. I live it 30 years. 31 years I've been in L.A. The whole street life of being tough, strong-minded, and you can't break me. People who know me will tell you that. And Hollywood, so anyway, so let me finish it. Let me go backward. I did all these things in backstage. I would send out my headshots.
Right.
And I would get auditions, right? Independent films, student films. So so as I would do all these student films, you know, my idol growing up was Oliver Stone, not Scorsese, not Coppola. It was Oliver Stone. And he went to NYU. His professor was Scorsese.
So there you go.
So as I would read his books. I would always want to make films like Oliver Stone, realistic, kind of gritty, grime. You know, like Oliver's a man to me, right? As a kid, I'd be like, I want to be like Oliver Stone. Long story short, I would do all these things. I would get auditions and I would
Resume
audition.
building, yeah.
Yeah. So as I did all these student films, I end up just dropping a thing to an independent film in 1991, and I would audition. And I auditioned for this independent film. I go in, I audition. It was a character. It's a famous role. It's called Amongst Friends. I play a weed dealer, Vic and Eddie. So me and the other dude met at the audition. I was like 20.
Yeah.
We met at the audition, and we became friends, me and this guy. It was one role. And he went in. I just met him. See you later. I went in. And you know who's casting? Mira Savino. She was no one. Her dad put up $10,000. She was a co-producer, and she was casting the movie. She was no one. So she ended up casting me with the director in this movie. Shooting little bits. 1991, 92, we were shooting little bits. At a time, the kid lived in Long Island, Rob Weiss. He lived in Long Island.
So it's shooting in New York.
Yeah. But we were doing like little bits and little bits. So in 2 years go by, they pieced it all together. And they would add more and more and more. So the guy who went in, I went in, they end up going, we can't decide. We're going to put you guys together and split the role, right?
Yeah.
So after they do that, they start shooting these bits of us. To Long Island, to Queens, little scenes. And before you know it, me and this guy were a major part of the movie. I play a weed dealer, and in my real life, I was a weed dealer. Had the jogging Sergio Tacchini suits on. We used to take him from the director's dad. He was a big guy, a street guy as well.
Oh, good.
And we would go in his closet, and he looked like my dad, the guy. He could have been me. Like, he looked like, hey, what are you doing? He was a great guy, this guy, Rob's dad. And we would go get a Sergio Tacchini. So every scene, we have the Sergio Tacchinis on, and we would shoot these scenes. Vic and Eddie, famous Vic and Eddie.
How would you say that so you obviously are like an old school guy. You have this mentality, you've been through the ringer, like how you said, in like Hollywood and on the street. How do you feel like someone is supposed to navigate what's going on now? Because it seems worse than like ever. I
Hollywood or the streets? Let's go to pick one.
Hollywood.
Hollywood is totally opposite and changed. If I was and not to be discouraging, but if I was a young actor these days, I wouldn't want to be an actor. You're not going to get work. You're not going to get paid. You're never going to make a pension. You're never going to get anything. They made it to the point where only the executives get rich. No one gets paid. No one makes money. No one gets anything.
So it's a Ponzi scheme.
You don't get paid to be an actor now. You get paid to be famous.
Right. You go on. Right. So if you're an actor, you're making $500 for a day, no matter what you're on.
Right.
No one's paying, but the executives who run these companies are making $80, $90 million. The guys from Netflix, the guy from Discovery, they're making $80, $90 million a year, and no one else is getting anything.
You got to figure out how to make your own movies.
I got in at a great time, where I have a pension. I was able to build 30 years of work and consistently, which most people don't. So let me go back to the Amongst Friends thing.
Yeah.
So I do this audition. We get it 2 years later. All of my friends get arrested, 30 guys in the Bronx. And I get away. That's the show is about, how I got away, right? And all of them get arrested. And I'm like sitting in my neighborhood going, what do I do? Like, this is a crossroads. I'm 25. I go, what do I do? I have nothing. I don't know. I have no education. All my friends are in jail, so the street stuff stopped. Couldn't go to FBI. Was all over the neighborhood. So I said, what am I going to do?
You couldn't fund
Couldn't do anything.
You couldn't fund the acting career anymore. You had to go work.
No, I never had a job in my life.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Yeah. You were a hustler. That's how you were able. That's how you were able to build your resume up as an actor.
I was a hustler.
All these guys are starving in these studio apartments in Greenwich Village.
Right, and I was living great.
Yeah.
I was all over,
You're
buying
wearing-
people drinks and bars and partying, whatever, all these NYU kids.
You're wearing
right?
$75 Tacchini suits.
Yeah.
At 20 years old.
Yeah.
And all these other guys are starving actors.
Construction. again, another tragedy. All my friends, 30 dudes, get arrested.
25 years old.
And they're all doing, 25. I'm sitting in the Bronx going, again, intervention. Just like my younger life. Everything goes, people go, that's terrible. I go, absolutely not, because now look at my life. I became a movie star.
Right.
I have a beautiful daughter. My life is not about crime or drugs. Hasn't been for 30 years, 30-something years.
How much time is in between the day your friends go away?
Within weeks, okay? So listen to this.
So from indictment to phone call.
Right. So, again, intervention. You don't know.
Wow.
When things look terrible, people get sulking, they get depressed. I get stronger. Nothing phases me.
It sounds like you've done that since you were born almost.
5.
Yeah.
And I would sit in the house and go, I'm going to do this. And I would walk around the neighborhood. Every neighborhood. I show her when I go every neighborhood. I would know everyone. People would be like, Duck, hey, as a baby, Hazel Towers to Country Club to Morris Park.
Yeah.
I would always associate with everybody. I'd always
That's
go
what
with
they
the
should have
club.
named you in the
Ducky,
Sopranos.
Duck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would have been a lot better.
Right.
The-
So wait, so let me go
Yeah.
back to the amongst friends. So we do this thing 2 years before everybody gets pinched. The neighborhood's dead. You can't do anything. And I'm going, what am I going to do with my life? I'm saying to myself, this is depressing.
Yeah.
You're watching all your friends go to jail. Your family's in jail. You're the only one sitting here on this. And I go, okay, what do? All of a sudden, the phone rings. And this is no bullshit. 1992, late 92. And they go, okay, Rob Weiss calls. He goes, hey, man, that film we did 2 years, we've been shooting little bits. It's going to this film festival called Sundance. At the time, Sundance was nothing.
Right.
Robert Rodriguez, there was nobody. Every filmmaker that came out, it became a big filmmaker. The year I was there, Robert Rodriguez, Jennifer Lynch, Bryan Singer. The year before was Ed Burns was the year after us. Quentin Tarantino, all these young Steven Soderbergh, all these guys came out of that time frame, and I was doing. These are real
Right.
filmmakers that are legendary today.
I mean, yours is one of the films that built up the reputation of the Sundance Film Festival as
Our film,
a launching point for independent filmmaking.
amongst friends did.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
yeah, it was massive. You know
Yeah,
the film?
Sundance. So
You know
the
film?
I don't, but I know Sundance Film Festival. For those
Right.
who may not,
Of course.
it's
So
it's
you
an
ready-
independent film festival.
Right. So in 1993, it wasn't what it is today. It
Yeah,
wasn't
now getting a phone call is you might as well
Rob
get a
Weiss-
phone call from MGM.
Yeah.
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 And Rob Weiss was like, yo, dude, we're all driving to Sundance. Why don't you come to the festival? And I'm looking around. There's no one around. And I'm going, I took, from my street life, I had a car, and I had $5,000 left.
What kind of car?
A Maxima. I bought a brand new Maxima. I had it for like 10 years. Yeah, right? Remember my Maxima?
Bro,
Every
in
woman
the
I bought them
90s,
after-
that Maxima might as well have been a Porsche.
It was. Dude, every woman I bought them, and then Joe DeMarco
They
and
were
got one,
pushing.
everyone.
They were pushing that 4-door sports car
Right.
thing.
So wait. So listen. So I go,
The Maxima.
now everything crashes around me.
Yeah.
Again. And I'm watching. I go, I have nothing to do. I get this phone call. I go, I got nothing. I've been working as an actor.
You got nothing. You got leather, sunroof, and a Bose stereo.
No. I mean, nothing meaning in life. I had no education. I couldn't go, So I go, what am I going to do? So Rob goes, why don't you come to Sundance? So I go, okay. I pack up my car. I take the other dude who I did amongst friends with the other guy, and he was like 10 years older than me. And I said, want to go to Sundance? I'll drive. It's one of my driving across country trips. Get in the car. I have nothing. No, we drive across country. We pick up Mira Savino in L.A., and we all drive to Utah. We get to Utah. We're just kidding. Now, remember, I'm not famous. I get to Utah. Our film screens. Boom.
Yeah.
Blows up. We become this iconic characters, me and the other dude, in an iconic independent film out of New York. They were comparing Rob to the next Scorsese, whatever. So we get there, and it's like, boom.
Right.
And I'm like, holy, again, thank God I listened to my gut like I did, doing it, wanted to be an actor. And then
Now
my
you're
next stage
right
is,
to- right
now
to
we're
this.
getting thrust in the middle of every.
Sundance. Yeah.
You're in every
What it-
theater in the country.
Yeah.
So you ready for this? Here's the best story.
Yeah.
Who is my idol? You guys remember who I told you?
Oliver Stone.
I get Sundance, we blow up. I get an agent immediately at Sundance. People are like, you're great in this movie.
Right there.
Right there. I drive back to L.A., and I drive, and I go, this is great. Look at this. Thank God I listened, and I went. Most people don't want to leave the Bronx or New York. I ain't going all the way there. I go, what? I'm adventurous. I told you, I drove across country before, but I drive everywhere.
Yeah.
So I go back to L.A. Now we're kind of famous in the Hollywood arena from this movie that played at Sundance. Bryan Singer, you know what that is? from Usual Suspects. He did all of that. His movie played against ours, and they didn't like our director. They liked Brian. Brian's movie was terrible, and he went off and did The Usual Suspects. He put me in that, Brian. But we all met at Sundance. I go back. A week later, Rob Weiss, the director, goes, ready for this? Hey, bro, I need a ride. Because I was the only one with a car in L.A.
And a Maxima.
A Maxima, badass car. I would
That's
cruise
an
the roof.
impressive
So
car.
so I go, where we
In
going?
the 90s.
So I go, where we going? And he goes, I need a ride to Oliver Stone's office.
Yeah.
What?
I go, are you kidding? He goes, no, I had no union card. I had nothing. He goes, I need a ride to Oliver Stone's office. I go, let's go. I drive him there. And I go into the meeting with Oliver, and I walk in, and it's like this. And I remember, no union card. I'm a kid from the Bronx. A week later, I'm at Oliver Stone's office. This is when he was legend. 93, when he was
He's still a legend.
But this is when he was the god,
Yeah.
you know. And I show up, and I go in the room with him, and I'm like this. And he's like, Rob's like, come on in. So I go in, I sit on the couch, and him and Oliver are talking. And Oliver looks to me, and he goes, what are you doing here? Fucking with me. And I go, I'm in the movie. He goes, I'm fucking with you. He goes, I love your look, and I love you in Amongst Friends. I'm going to put you in my next movie.
And your hero told you that.
It's amazing.
That's
Again,
unbelievable.
you
It's
understand?
validation.
Right? But not even validation. It's like...
You're never going to get that in the neighborhood.
But-
no one's ever going to come up and say, this is what you're supposed to do for
Right,
the
but
rest of your
more than
life.
validation, it's when you believe and you project what you want, it comes. People have this negative mindset all the time. I'm always positive. When the worst things happen, that's when the biggest things happen. So I'm in the room with Oliver, right? And he goes, I'm going to put you in my next movie. And I'm like going, holy shit, like, is this real? The movie was Natural Born Killers. And who do I star in it with? Me, Tommy Lee Jones, Woody Harrelson, Robert Downey. And he calls me back a month later. And he goes, I need you to come in. And I'm like, okay. I go into the room. Who's sitting there? Woody Harrelson, Robert Downey, Tommy Lee, Juliette Lewis, Tom Sizemore, and me. I have no union. Remember, I'm a fucking kid. I'm like sitting in this room, and he's like, all right, Louis, we're going to cast a partner for you, Oliver says to me. He goes,
You have an agent at this point for what, a year, 2 years?
a week.
A week.
So he goes,
Wait, this all happened in the same week?
yeah. That's what I'm trying to say. Wow. And he goes, I leave Sundance. I go to a week later.
Still
I drive
hasn't turned 26.
Yeah.
What? Yeah.
yeah.
Not even. Yeah. So I go, holy shit. He's like, I love your look, man. And he was busting my balls at first, and I'm like, this is my idol. And I'm sitting in the room with him, and he's like, I'm going to put you in my next movie. I know you nothing. I go back, I'm in a room with him, and he goes, we're going to cast somebody to play your partner. Because I played Tommy Lee Jones' deputy in the prison. And we shot in real prison. Joliet, Chicago, around. It was the scariest thing ever. Like, you know, so I go in the room, and all these actors who I idolized growing up were coming in. Mike Starr, Marshall Bell. And he's going, Louis, who do you like? And I'm like, wow, I'm going to make a decision on who's my partner in this $100 million movie. And everybody walked in. I was like, I like him. He's like, okay, Louis. When everyone left, he goes, you can't like everyone. Oliver goes, you got to pick someone. And I ended up picking this guy to play my partner in the movie. I ended up becoming great friends with lifelong, Marshall Bell. He's a famous actor. He was in Twins. He's a great actor. He's a great guy. He took me in, Marshall Bell. And long story short, I get a plane ticket to Chicago. They're like, Oliver don't know what he's going to use you in. He just wants you to, he likes you, they said. My agent said. He loves you. He wants you to come to Chicago. That's where we shot the movie. Now, remember, I have no union card. He paid for my union card. I got in the union SAG because of Oliver. He flew me to New York, so he flies me to Chicago. I start filming Amongst Friends premieres in that same summer. He flies me to New York, lets me go to the premiere, pays for my union card, and then I fly back to Chicago, and I film for 2 months. I ended up making great friends with Robert Downey. I stood with him every single night. My first movie, my first interaction is hanging out with Robert Downey when he was legend at the time, too. And he just took me in, and me and him became best buddies. And we would hang out every night, Robert Downey. And anyway, long story short, it was Natural Born Killers. Natural Born Killers launches my career, because when I got back from Natural Born Killers, right, I get hired in the same, this is why I say I did all these movies, Tim Burton, John Landis, Ivan Reitman, all these massive directors hired me within the next month after month after month. I ended up doing, I don't look at my resume, how many films I did within the first 4 years. Never mind by 19, by 14.
You're not even 30.
Not even 26, 27. 2 years has happened.
Wow.
I got hired by every massive director, and everyone would meet me and go, we love your energy.
Yeah.
Put you in. Ivan Reitman, John Landis, Tim Burton, Oh my God, if I go down, Bryan Singer, all these great directors. So again, so I got all this education as NYU films, right? Now I'm getting real education on real sets from real massive directors who like me and who are teaching me. And I'm always a learner. When I'm on sets, I'll be like, why is this like this? So the camera guys, everyone loves me because
Well, yeah, you spent 10 years putting in your dues and learning on sets, kind of
on real sets. So that's the biggest thing
Yeah.
people don't get. You could be in a classroom, but if you don't understand the camera and the interaction of people, that's the business. It's not being in a room.
But it's that consistency.
Yeah.
And that eye for learning.
That's I always learn. Even till today, I'm on a set. Why do you do that? Why is this here? I always ask questions, and people
Yeah.
like it. Certain people love it,
Yeah.
especially deep because I want to learn because I want to do shit so I know. So anyway, I did all these movies with the biggest directors in the world. So I was getting an education again, but on real world, I call it shit. And I would be learning from the top directors in the world. So and the biggest actors. I worked with Malcolm McDowell for a year in Hawaii. Before Sopranos, I did a TV show in Hawaii.
And that level of skill probably made it really easy to jump in with them.
And you know what really mattered? My street life, because Hollywood beat you down. Street life beats you down. I was able to overcome the street life. When I got to Hollywood, I was like, I don't give a fuck if you tell me I can't.
Yeah, rejection.
Yeah, I don't give a fuck you.
The hardest thing, I always say that the hardest thing to deal with when becoming an actor is the rejection, because how many auditions.
And I didn't give a fuck.
And I was gonna say
I would be like, okay, bye. And I always compared it to, I'm going in this room, I'm leaving. I'm not going to be arrested or killed.
Mm-hmm.
That was my whole life. I was always worried every bar I was in, am I going to get killed, shot? So I was always on guard growing. That's why I was so aggressive.
So
When you're going to the bars, collect, people don't want to pay you. What are you going to do? You know, people don't want to do.
You had that thick skin built.
Yeah. So when I moved to L.A. after this movie hit, all the actors that came out there with me were Strasberg graduates, HB Studios, and I was just a kid who didn't know any thing. And they would go, yeah, bro, we're going to be stars. We'll take care of you. And my mindset in this house, I lived in a house, everyone would come to my house, House of Pain, Leonardo DiCaprio, told me I cooked for everyone.
Wait, Leonardo DiCaprio?
I hung out with him when he was 18, 19. He loved me. When I seen him years ago, Paisan, because he's Italian. He would come hug me and shit. Mark Wahlberg.
Yeah,
Wait, so you cooked for him?
Yeah. Oh, I have videos of me cooking for Michael. All these guys. In 1993, I had a house, and I would throw these big parties because that's all I did on the street was party. So I had this big house in Santa Monica. We didn't pay rent. I just took over this house, and we lived there for years.
Took over this house.
Wait, what do you mean took over the
What
house?
happened
In other
was-
words,
Did
he's
you like put the guy?
This is
ready
his
for this?
way of answering my question of how do you hustle?
Yeah, dude, I still am, Sal.
I got a funny question for you. Do you know how you go to CVS and like they have everything freaking locked up now?
Yeah.
What if it was you like back then and like they had everything freaking locked up? What would you do?
I mean, I didn't really like steal shit.
No.
I would just bring it back.
Hustler.
I would buy
A
it.
hustler
Yeah.
is not someone who's looking to steal shit.
No, it was more about scamming every fucking. I
Right.
still do, even though I don't have to ask her. We go here. I'm
No,
like, watch
I meant
this.
about people
Bro,
stealing.
listen, a
I give you
hustler-
own the thing and people were stealing. I didn't mean like for you to hustle it. Like, do you know how they lock everything up now?
Yeah.
You would have just kicked the shit out of somebody.
Oh yeah,
That's what I'm saying.
We would just walk around. I was aggressive as a kid, and I always still. But when I got to Hollywood, I had no fear of failing.
Right.
'Cause you couldn't break me. I didn't give a fuck who would produce you. So when I would go into rooms then and get jobs, look at my resume.
And they would read that energy off.
Yeah, and I
Wait,
walk
so
in.
how do you scam a house in Santa Monica? We didn't
Oh,
get.
okay. Wait, ready for this? So we all get this house, me and all these four guys, right?
Wait, but you
27
bought
years
it, you
old.
rented
No,
No,
listen to this.
no, he scammed it,
So
bro.
we get a house. Wait, listen to this.
He just
story.
walked in like, this is my house now.
No, wait. So we rent this house, and
Look at
four
me.
dudes had the house, and it was a party house.
Right.
Everyone would come. This is before everyone was famous. Well, everyone would
This
come
is
to
the
our
original
house. I would
content
throw
house.
massive parties. So we rented this house. It was $1,500 a month in Santa Monica, 4-bedroom, right?
Right.
And I'm like, okay, so we would all put in $300, $400 a month each. Our rent was for four of us, right? $400 a month. Right?
Amazing, yeah.
Okay. So we called the landlord, and the driveway was fucked up one day. And I go, hey, man. She goes, I don't care, move out. I was like, whoa, that was aggressive, right? I go, okay.
Nice.
Wait. So about a month or two goes by. Now, we get a knock on the door. And it's the bank. And he goes, and this, swear to God, he goes, listen, we now own the house. The lady Ozzy went bankrupt.
The lady stopped paying the mortgage. You were paying her rent. She wasn't even paying the
It
mortgage.
was only $400 a month. Wait, so
Nice.
the guy goes, we own the house now. So whatever you're going to send, he goes, you don't have to pay rent because we're going to sell the house. So you guys could stay here
Until it sells at
until
auction.
we sell at an auction.
Yeah.
I go, really? I go, fuck me with the driveway. I stopped paying. My other guy goes, "You're not paying the rent anymore?" I go, "No." He goes, "I'm not paying either." The other guy
pay the rent? She's not paying the mortgage.
So the other two imbeciles, right? And the two imbeciles, the Strasbourg graduates, hey, trying to be actors, like they were going to be movie stars. I was a character actor. They would go, "We're going to pay. Your credit's going to be ruined." I go, "She don't own the house, dude. The bank just told you."
How's she gonna ruin your credit?
And so he would write notes every month to her. "Hi, OZ. This is Patrick. I am sending my rent. Louis and Frank are not. Period." And I would go, "You're an
What a
asshole."
rat. What a rat.
Yeah, and he would
What a
fucking
bastard.
rat. And he
What a
did
pain in
this.
the...
And
No, I'd throw him off the balcony.
wait. So I'm in the house and I'm going, "I don't give a fuck. She don't own that. The money's not going."
I would have called Joe and moved him into that other bedroom.
So wait. So you ready
I would
for
have said, "This is my friend's room now. Get
So
the fuck
Sal,
out."
wait, ready for this? So once that guy left, I go, "I'm done. I'm not paying."
Wow.
We end up living there for free, like I think 2 more years for free.
That's outstanding.
I'm in Santa Monica throwing House of Pain was coming to my house. They would jam Leo, fucking Michael Rappaport. Oh my, I can't. These are before.
It was a nice house. Like it was a really
Yeah,
nice house.
nice fucking big 4-bedroom house. Like not like but like a nice Santa
Yeah, yeah,
Monica,
yeah.
beautiful. But again, once she said it, 6 months into the house, the guy goes, "We own it." I go, "I'm not paying." So we lived for 2 more years for free. And he would write the note every month when he would send us check him. I go, "No one's even. What are you doing?"
He's paying a lady who probably hasn't paid the note in the house in 4 years.
Idiot. And he kept sending it every month.
Oh my God.
So it's been on for years, 2 years. So that's how we scammed the house.
He did it for 2 years.
Yeah. And he would write the note, "Louis and Frank are not paying. This
dope.
is from Patrick and Ted." And I'd go,
Where
"You're
is
an
that
imbecile."
guy now?
Could've saved
That
10
guy's
grand.
definitely no.
No, he was supposed to be the next Brad Pitt, but he failed, and he was a Strasbourg. But again, the whole house I lived in, they all failed because they didn't have my strong mindset. They would
couldn't
go on
hustle.
auditions and they would go, "He didn't like me, cry." I go, "I don't give a fuck."
They
what
weren't
you
street
like."
smart.
Right. My whole street smart bred me for Hollywood, which was a worse business than the streets, and that's what made me so mind strong. And
Tough guy.
I would go on auditions and I had no fear. Of like, if you told me no, I didn't care. Even now, I don't care. I'm very confident. I always was since I was a kid, since I was 12.
Like, I don't
But you know
say...
what? Let me tell you something.
Yeah.
If you look at my career,
Yeah.
okay?
Yeah.
As an Italian American, I am so proud. My biggest flex as an Italian American actor is I've never played a gangster.
Right.
Sopranos.
You're a cop.
24. You ever see 24?
Yep.
Yeah,
I won
of
an
course.
Emmy for that.
Yep.
Crying every day. Edgar. I was my biggest flex. I got a commendation from the city of New York, from the commissioner. I have the picture of it, City Hall, where they gave me a commendation for my body of work as an Italian American actor, not playing gangsters. It was a commissioner. I have the picture, and it was me, Buscemi, the head of HUD, the head of Lenox Hill Hospital, Italian Americans with a greater body of work, and I never play a gangster. So everything I played was as opposite as me in real life. My personality overwhelmed them. I never walked in going, "Hey, Goomba."
Yeah, but you didn't have to change who you were.
No, I played neighbors in Rob Schneider's movie. I did a movie called The Animal. I play a funny cop. Most of my roles,
But you're bringing your personality.
my
You're
personality
bringing-
to the role, and I don't come off as a gangster or like that.
It's
Hollywood
if Louis was a cop, or if Louis was, somebody's uncle from the East Coast.
right, but
Or,
if but if you look at my body of work, the legendary roles
Yeah.
are
Oh, yeah.
nothing to do with gangster.
Yeah.
And they're all opposite of my real person. You know what's funny? When I did Sopranos, all my friends and family were in jail. And they would call me, you're the cop. Do they know who you are? And they would pass me around the phone. And all my buddies with my grandfather, they would be like, "You're the cop? Do these people know who you are?" Like, did
The entire neighborhood
I think
is
that's
enjoying
great.
the irony.
And I would be like,
Yeah.
"How's jail? Remember when you fucking fucked me over? Now I'm sitting here in Hollywood and you're doing 30 years. And my whole entire 30 years has been consistently working. I just keep rolling.
Well, persistency.
And I tell her this. The only,
Consistency and persistency
That's
has put
right.
you in everyone's Rolodex.
That's
and now
right.
you get calls for not just the character actor stuff. We were just watching a trailer for a horror film that you starred.
Looked very good, by the
it's
way.
going to be, you know what? We've been getting so much hype for this thing that it's going to be huge. It's called Director's Cut. And Mr. Directors, and you can follow us on Instagram. It's
Mr.
Mr. Director,
Director.
Mister, Mr. Director. And man, I mean, this thing is going to put me in another level of horror. Kind of, we were already getting major hype from it. It comes out in theaters in November, and it's one of my favorite roles because I'm in a wheelchair. I play this crazy serial killer, And again, it's this opposite of who I really was.
Did you
Yeah.
have to channel back some of that anger from her like the role? Like you have to channel back like
No, you know what's funny is I can cry in a dime, right? I do it
Really?
with her. We'll be at the table. I'll be like, You should be like, oh, God. I could do it in a second. I can cry on That's what I was doing in Graves, and I would cry all the time. Well, he'd be like, please don't do it again. And even at some of the scenes, but I wanted to be different. I didn't want to, even on Graves, and when I did it, I didn't want to be, hey, Tooth, fucking on the floor.
Yeah, but
I wanted to be a guy with an emotional compass where, you have a compass of what's right and what's wrong.
So you want
But this film, you're a psychopath.
This film, I play a psycho killer.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I'm in the wheelchair.
So this is like someone with absolutely no moral.
No more, right. But when I did do the one or two gangster roles that I've ever done,
Yeah.
I didn't want to play the spitting on the floor like
Right,
everybody.
right.
Hey, I got the money, God.
So-
I refused to do anything like that. I told, when I was working, I go, I'm not doing any of that. If you write any of that, I'm not saying it. I don't want to be a stereotypical Italian-American gangster. And that's why like on Gravesend, if you watch my role, it's more of a laid-back, like when we talk about killing the kid, I go, the kid, he died. Like, we killed a kid, and it would be like sad. And
You make it real.
yeah, like this is like what this gangster's really going through is an emotional, this is not like I killed a kid, yeah.
Because that's your experience.
Yeah.
Want to know how my career really launched? About 96, 7, I was supposed to star in this movie called Suicide Kings. Me, Dennis.
Oh,
Leary,
yeah. I know that.
Everyone was in
Yeah.
it. The producer was my buddy. And he wrote these two roles for Vic and Eddie from Among Friends. He was buddies. He loved us, this guy. He did Dude, Where's My Car? And he wrote Suicide Kings. So I'm supposed to star in this movie. And the director was this Hollywood guy with the big hat, the Starbucks. Hey, that Hollywood dude. And I just didn't mesh him because that's not me. I'm not a Hollywood guy. I'll tell you how you feel. I'm a real person.
Yeah.
I always was a real person. So he goes, I don't want him in the movie. My buddy's like, wait, I wrote the roles. The guy was a producer, big dude. He goes, I wrote these roles for Louis. The guy directed, nah, I don't want him.
What?
Being a jerk off. And I said, fuck you. He goes, what? I said, fuck you. He goes, all right, you're not in the movie. I don't give a fuck. So we hired Brad Garrett, Ray Romano's brother, and the other guy, Frank.
Oh, so that was supposed to be your role?
Yeah.
Wow.
But again, when things look worse, so what happens is, my buddy calls me and he goes, Louis, the director don't want you. The guy's my buddy. He goes, we have one day, $500. Would you just be in the car with Dennis Leary? He's got a 10-page monologue, and your line is, yeah, boss, right? And I was like, you're my boy, absolutely. So I show up to the set. I don't know Dennis Leary. I get in the trailer. Dennis is looking at me. He goes, how you doing, man? I go, hey, how you doing? Like, Dennis is cool. This is when he was massively famous. And we're in the trailer. We're getting makeup. The director comes in. And now Dennis is going through his 10-page monologue. You see him looking at me. I'm going, I have no lines. I did one day, $500. Follow me? Christopher Walken's in it, Dennis Leary's in it. Everyone's in this movie. I'll do it for one day. The director comes in the trailer and he's like, no, Dennis, we're going to do this. Dennis goes, I got to stop you, to the director. He goes, see all this stuff? 5-page monologue. He goes, I'm not saying any of it. He crumples it and throws it in the garbage. He goes, me and this guy, he didn't even know me. He goes, are going to just talk. You just film. The guy's like, no, but he goes, no. Leary goes, no. I go, oh, shit, I love Leary. The guy tried to abuse me. So I was smiling at the director. He's like, so we get in the car and we run a tow truck, and he tows us around for 12 hours. And me and Leary are just winging it, improvising. And Dennis like, I love this. So Dennis started getting into it. Long story short, 12 hours in the car, the night's over. The director comes up to me, he goes, don't get too happy. None of this is staying in the movie. I was like, you're a jerk off. And I leave. Georgianne Walken is Christopher Walken's husband. She cast Sopranos, Entourage. She cast all these things. She watched the movie. So what happens is I get a call about 6 months later. Louis, we need you to come and loop. I go, loop for what? They go, my buddy, the producer, goes, come in and you'll see.
Your scene.
Yeah.
Wait. I go, okay. So I get to the looping room, and I walk in. The director's there with the big cowboy hat, the Starbucks, the 20-year-old assistant, the Pat. Hey, I go, what's up? Because I was ready to fight with this guy. He was being rude. I was ready to fight him.
He walked in.
He goes. So I.
This fucking guy again.
Yeah. I was like, this fucking guy. So I walk in, mad dogging. I was like, street to the max. I walk in. He's like, hey. I go, what the fuck do you what? What the fuck? He goes, the Hollywood jerk. I'm gonna make you a star. I go, what? He goes, come in the room. So my producer saw me getting aggressive. He's like, Louis, come with me. So the director's sitting there, and I'm watching the thing. The whole movie I'm in. They took that one night, and I'll show you the scenes. I have them all. It became iconic, this role. They added me into the whole, they took that one night, and they added me in 9 scenes. So it looks like I'm in the whole movie. I worked one day, $500. Georgianne Walken loved me because Christopher was in it. And turns out they wrote an entire movie from those clips for me and Leary and sold it. They were going to do a whole spin-off of me and Leary. And that was one day. Remember the other role I was supposed to star in? They cut that down from 80% to nothing, those roles. Because the guy didn't know his lines and Brad Garrett sucked. So they cut that whole role I was supposed to star in out, and they added me again with one day throughout the whole movie. That's fair. I have the clips. And it turned out to be iconic, this role. Georgianne Walken saw it and was like, oh, my God, I want you on this show we're doing. This is before Sopranos cast.
Brad Garrett said everybody loves Louis, and that's where Ray Romano got the idea.
Wait, but this is how I got Sopranos. From the $500 one day. That's why I tell people, show up enthusiastic. Show up. I don't care if you're 500 or 50,000.
Yeah.
So I show up enthusiastic. I put all these 8 scenes in. Georgianne calls me and says, I want you on the show we're doing. We're going to cast this new show. It's called Sopranos. First season, I went in for Big Pussy, the role. She goes, I want you on the show. She goes, you're great in this movie. But again, it'll come from one day for $500.
Yeah.
And I can't get on the first season because I get hired by Barry Sonnenfeld. You know who Barry Sonnenfeld is? He did like all these massive, Barry Sonnenfeld did the Addams Families and all the Will Smith movies.
Wow.
Big, huge guy, biggest director in Hollywood. My buddy calls me and he goes, hey, we were doing this show called Fantasy Island. It's the remake of the old Fantasy Island, but they're making a new one. I'm going to go live in Hawaii with Malcolm McDowell. You know, Malcolm McDowell was Clockwork Orange legend.
Yeah.
It's like an iconic actor, right? Clockwork Orange, that's Malcolm McDowell. Anyway, we moved to Hawaii. So I get hired as I'm auditioning for the Sopranos first season to get on as one of the guys. But Frankie Renzulli told me, because he wrote the role, he goes, they're going to offer you, this is before anything, they're going to offer you the cop role on the second season. Because when the first season, go back to the first season, I auditioned, they loved me. I end up getting hired on this show to go move to Hawaii. So it pulled me out, right?
Obviously, you're going to...
Yeah.
So I go,
experience.
And I was making
100%.
30 grand a week at 30 years old living in Hawaii. I'm like, is it
Living in Hawaii?
It's 30 grand a week at 30 years old. It's my first real TV job. And I'm like, holy shit. Sopranos goes, and it clicks, and it becomes the biggest show in TV history. My show, again, when things look worse, gets canceled. And they're blaming me for the failure of this $50 million show. You were terrible. I go, I never said I was funny. If you notice, most of my roles are serious.
Yeah.
I'm actually a funny, my personality is more...
I think you're hysterical.
But
I mean, I crack up every time I see you.
Thanks. But in movies, I played a serious character. Or meanwhile, that's not my personality in real life. So I go to Hawaii. The show gets canceled, and they're blaming me. You're the one. You're not funny. I go, I didn't say I was funny. You hired me. Like I was kind of battling people, going. So I felt kind of like, okay, this is terrible. I said, fire me. Say, fire me from the show. Sopranos is a massive hit, so I'm thinking I missed out on Sopranos. I go back to New York to visit my mother. It's Christmas. From Hawaii, I go back to New York. And I go to New York, and Georgianne goes, Louis here? Second season they're casting. She goes, have him come in right now. Within a day, I'm in New York. Georgianne's like, bring Louis up. And I knew Jimmy Gandolfini for 94, 95. We used to hang out. We were friends. Me and Jimmy. Friends for a long time before Sopranos. I go in, he's standing there. He's like, I'm reading with you. I was supposed to read with Big Pussy because it was the cop. And Frankie Renzulli, the guy I was telling you about, goes, we're going to write a cop role. He goes, take the role. You'll have way more of a longer career. The gangsters might not last too long. You might get one episode.
You'll get
but
pigeonholed.
you are going to be different. And I know Frankie since 90. We used to hang out. Remember I told you?
Right.
I get the role. Georgianne's like, we love him. I read with Gandolfini, one scene. He goes, okay, enough. I go, oh, my God. This sucks. I just bombed in front of Gandolfini.
Yeah.
I go downstairs. I'm leaving. I go, fuck, man. I got fired off the show. I thought I got thrown out of the room. I got downstairs. My agent calls me. You got the role within 20 minutes.
Wow.
That's an amazing sentiment. Like, just for the fact that you see the good in every situation.
Every situation.
And you have a budding side hustle.
You're budding.
Yeah.
My pizza business.
Yeah.
I love it. The pizza business, I show up and she works the register. In the last...
Do you think working in Tony Rome's restaurant as a kid made you fall in love with, like...
The pizza business, Ava Lou's, has become the biggest thing. I do it with my daughter. She's Ava, I'm Lou. I've made myself in the last 6 months 5,000-6,000 pizzas. I make every one. Every topping at the pizza station, the guy bakes in the oven. I top every one. I sit in that truck. I sit in the thing, and I love it. No matter how hard I work, no matter how much, I love it. I love feeding people. I was always brought up around the table feeding people, and that became my life now. And the pizza business is about to blow up. But like the acting did, because again, I show up 100, I get out to the 10,000 people. I'm out there giving samples, talking. I'm like, we get a picture. Oh, and you treat people like you would treat your kid if they're respectful. And I got these audiences now. We're serving 10,000 people at events, and I'm out there with the people. I'm making every pizza. She runs the register, and we're killing it in the pizza game. But that came from way before I was an actor. Working in Tony Rome's restaurant, I always wanted to be a cook because my mother, my grandmother, I always cooked for 20, 30 guys in the club. We would sit there and cook and eat, and that became my life now. My secondary business is my first, which is now the pizza business.
That's how much you love to hustle. Is you
love it.
You made it as an actor.
Yeah.
You're a working actor, right? You got that regularity, and you're like, well, I got to keep challenging myself. What's next?
That's right.
It's amazing.
And now this is the next step, but now I love this. I love feeding people. I love that. My mother always took in homeless kids and bad kids off the street, so I always had 10 people at the table with us.
Louis Lombardi, everybody. Man of all trades.
Never quit. Never give up. And the biggest thing is, I could say to people out there in any business, never listen to people. Never listen to your family. Believe your heart. If you fail on your own merit. Again, failing is not succeeding. Failing is not trying. And I tell people that in any business you do. So thanks for having me. This has been a great conversation. I hope we can come back and do a part 2.
There's only been a couple of people where at the end of the podcast we said we got to do a part 2.
I would love to.
That's true.
There's so much more to talk about too, about other stuff that we didn't even delve into about the business, not just about my life, but about because people stop me all the time and go, well, what about this? What about this? And I try to inspire everyone.